In terms of legal practice generally in the social care industry, how do you think that's evolved across your 50-year career, and do you think it will
Oh,
continue?
massively. Nobody knew anything about it when I started in 1972, 75. I mean, it was regarded as something that goes on after we've done the conveyancing. I mean, large buildings being bought by people to run as nursing homes was good bread and butter for conveyancing lawyers. They didn't really want to know and were frightened about everything that happened inside the care home. So there was a gap. And when public funding came with the Callaghan government at the end of the 70s, there was an increasingly complex public revenue, like tax. When I wanted to be a tax lawyer, I was then acting on the other side of how do you construe similar legislation that was codifying and exemplifying the way in which you could claim benefits. And we did a lot of work in front of Social Security benefit appeal tribunals. There was a gap in the market. Nobody really knew what to do. And I was a sole practitioner then, and I made the decision that I would just go anywhere, anytime, across the length and breadth of the country, usually England, sometimes Wales, very occasionally Scotland and Northern Ireland, but we would go everywhere and meet that need because the local lawyers were not fulfilling that need. And that's where it came from, and that's where a sort of a modicum of reputation came from.
And thinking about where we are now, how do you think the practice will continue to evolve? I mean, clearly we can still get everywhere with the advent of Teams and you know, remote work becoming much more normalised after the pandemic. But how do you
that's
see
much
things
better,
evolving?
isn't it? I mean, travelling 300 miles in a day and back is not a particularly viable way of going on. There's always going to be a regulator. Back in the 90s, there was an assessment of what do people think about regulation, where do they think regulation should come from, and I think there was one person out of 500 that suggested there shouldn't be any regulation at all. There will always be regulation, and there will always be a need to challenge that regulation or support vigorous action by regulators. After all, we're talking about the care, support and healthcare needs of some of the most vulnerable people in society. And you're talking about change. I mean, when I started out, people in care homes drove sports cars. They went to the pub and they went away on foreign holidays. Now they're lucky if they can get out of bed. The level of dependency, the level of acuity, and the level of sheer human suffering has moved. I mean, if you put it in terms, we used to talk about people staying in a nursing home for 2 years and in a residential care home for 5 years. Now they stay in a residential care home for a year to 18 months, and in a nursing home, anything from 2 days to 6 months. These are places of very high acuity, in very great need, and they need to be regulated. But that regulation needs to be supportive,
Yeah, I think
not negative.
It needs to work in a way that works for the people that use the services as well as the providers, and I think that's where hopefully we'll see some positive change coming out of, you know, the consultations, etc.
Well, I hope so.
Thinking about your specialist practice and Ridouts joining HCR's full service healthcare team, what benefit has that brought?
Well, it brings huge benefits because we were specialised. People came to us in large numbers, I'm glad to say, to cope with our expertise with the regulator, to cope with our expertise in collecting public sector fees, largely from local authorities, and those sorts of things. But there were a host of other things, employment law issues, deals, real estate deals, corporate deals, health and safety, a whole the wide range of a full service law firm. And our clients are enormously enriched having available to them a full service law firm that can be pulled in at the touch of a button. So we can assemble a team of individual experts within a morning, rather than having to either educate other people's lawyers or look around for somebody who might be prepared to take on something a bit difficult.
Yeah, it's definitely of benefit to clients.
Absolutely of benefit to the clients and of benefit to the team.